Hi, this is another Ask Augustin. Today I'm going to talk about rhythm. I actually didn't really have the best sense of rhythm when I was growing up. I think because it wasn't something I really worked on that much, and some of my teachers did not seem to think it was that important, and so my sense of rhythm was largely kind of intuitive, and sometimes I did a certain amount of rushing and dragging, and maybe sometimes some things rhythmically that didn't really make sense. Also, when you don't work on your rhythm consciously, you might do things rhythmically that you're not even aware of. Like you're thinking that you're playing straight, but actually you're dragging because something's very difficult technically, or you're rushing because you're really excited about the passage, or you're phrasing towards something and that makes you rush forward. Maybe you just rush because you're a little excited in a performance. So there are many things that can mess with our rhythm. Sometimes people think that some people are born with great rhythm, and other people don't have good rhythm. Maybe there's some truth to that, but everyone can improve their rhythm with practice, and I certainly did. Rhythm is actually one of those skills that anyone can get much better at if they put in the time and the work. It's really something that the more you work on, the better you get at it. When I first was learning the Ligeti violin concerto, which has very, very complicated rhythms, I was really kind of bewildered. I was like, I don't know how I'll ever be able to handle some of these rhythms. But then eventually I figured it out, and now they actually feel quite natural to me in a way. So it's really something that's just about practice. So, of course, the metronome is really, really useful to check whether you're doing anything you don't want to do. You're going to see whether you rush or you drag somewhere. But the metronome is an external source of rhythm. As soon as the metronome is off, you're on your own again. So the way that I like to use the metronome actually is just to check, where am I dragging, where am I rushing, and then sometimes I think about, well, why is it happening? Sometimes there are musical or technical reasons. And then I work on the rhythm in those passages, and the remedies are that for passages where you're rushing, you subdivide. You count smaller units. If you were counting quarter notes before, you count eighth notes. If you were counting half notes before, you count quarter notes. You basically just subdivide and count smaller units. It prevents you from going too fast. If you were dragging, you do the opposite. You count bigger units. Instead of the quarter notes, you kind of feel the pace of the piece in half notes, or instead of half notes you might feel whole bars. In that way you can eliminate those passages where you were rushing or dragging. Ultimately you want to develop an internal sense of rhythm, a way to feel the pulse inside yourself that's steady and reliable, and subdivision has a lot to do with that. There are some composers who really wanted very, very exact rhythms. It should really be like a metronome. When you're playing Stravinsky, for example, or Prokofiev, some of Prokofiev's music, not all of it, but some of the more rhythmic, percussive stuff. In a lot of American music, like I was just playing a lot, John Adams' road movies, even though the music is swingy sometimes, the pulse, when you do this, the pulse has to be totally steady, because actually it's very hard to kind of stay together with the pianist, and it needs to have a completely steady internal pulse. And as I said, the more you work on your internal pulse and on the steadiness of your rhythm, the better you get at it. And it's particularly important actually if you play an orchestra, and it's a big thing of what people look for in orchestral auditions, is that you have a good sense of rhythm. Another aspect of rhythm is that there are totally different traditions of rhythm. Some composers have an approach to rhythm that's very, very steady, and other composers write music that's much freer, much more flexible. If we're going to take the example of the Viennese waltz, it looks on the page like it's steady, but actually it's not played completely steady. It's often played a little with the second beat coming slightly early, and actually taking up slightly more time than the first and the third beats. This is actually a very counterintuitive thing. It's not really something you would think when you just look at the sheet music if you'd never heard Viennese waltz. It has to do with the way that the waltz is danced, and just with hundreds of years of traditions of waltzes, and so it's something you kind of absorb stylistically, and then you incorporate in your playing when you have a piece that features a waltz. If it's really a Viennese waltz, then the next danger, of course, is that you're going to exaggerate it and do too much, and then it becomes like a caricature. So this is the hard thing, that then to do just the right amount of it, and it takes time to kind of absorb that. Developing the skill of having a steady internal pulse that you can really rely on, that will tell you, this is exactly where I want to play the next note. This is where it should go. This is where it feels right. This skill will be invaluable, actually, no matter what style of music you play. It can be a great guide and give you that kind of certainty and confidence with your rhythm. I hope that's helpful, and I'll see you next time.